welcome back to Beyond the Compass, where travelers and the paranormal meet at the crossroads. I am your host, Eric Garcia, and today we are pleased to have an extraordinary guest. We have April Busset, better known as the Psychic Housewife of New Jersey. Now, April is a renowned psychic medium, natural-born clairvoyant, remote viewer, ghost hunter, and automatic writer whose abilities have made waves in the paranormal community. She was a featured expert on the Travel Channel's hit series, The Holzer Files, and is the creator, founder, and CEO of Ghosted Magazine. April has collaborated with some of the biggest names in the paranormal field, investigating the most notoriously haunted locations in the country and uncovering their untold secrets. April has used her gifts to connect with spirits, resolve hauntings, assist law enforcement in missing persons cases, which I just think is totally awesome. And she even named a killer live on her show, Cocktails and Readings, which I want to hear all about. She's currently diving into her latest project, Haunted Hotels Live, Dead Ends, where she continues her exploration of the supernatural. Today, she joins us to discuss her journey, her work, and her incredible connection to the unseen world. April, welcome to the show.
Hi, Eric. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. We've been
Awesome.
going back and forth. We
Yeah.
had a little technical difficulties, but it is Mercury retrograde.
I was just going to say, I was like, when I emailed you, I'm like, I hope this Mercury retrograde thing is over. I mean, I know a little astrology, I know a little tarot.
Yeah.
But the whole Mercury retrograde gets out of
Oh my God. Yeah, I love astrology. I'm just like novice in it, but I use it in my readings. I've loved it since a child, astrology.
Yeah.
When I first found my gift, so I was like delving into other stuff,
Yeah, I mean, I'm familiar with 8 out of the 12 signs because I come from a big family. My parents are both different signs. I have 5 sisters, and we're all like 8 different signs living together, growing up. So those signs I'm familiar with. Outside of those, I'm like, okay, who are you? What are you doing here?
Exactly. I like guessing people's signs too. Like, you can go by, like, if you really delve into it, you can, characteristics of their looks and their personality. And there's so many little telltale signs. But you know what, too? What happens is sometimes people will say, like, I'm an Aries. I'm like all fire. I'm Aries, Leo moon, and Sag rising. So that's a triple fire sign.
Wow.
Sometimes you'll meet an Aries because Aries are very vibrant, like, very forceful. They're in your face.
Yeah, I one of my exes is an Aries, and I'm a Gemini. So we have fire and air together, which maybe that's why it didn't last. I don't know. It was like,
my daughter's a Gemini. We butt heads. But Geminis are fascinating. This is why you do what you do. They're natural born. They're curious. They're brilliant minds. They love to read. They get bored easily too. Like that's why you keep delving into the unknown.
Yeah.
One of the best psychics I ever met was Kim Russo, who I interviewed for Ghosted Magazine, and I remember saying to her during the interview, and I said to her, "You're like the journalist for the dead," and she goes, "Well, I'm a Gemini," and I said, "Oh, that makes perfect sense." She asked so many questions.
Yeah, I got my sister hooked on her show, The Hauntings of. Yeah. Just super nice. And then I read, I'm like, okay, she's Gemini. That makes sense. That makes so much sense. And you can kind of spot your own when you run into another of your sign. You can spot little telltale personality quirks. You're like, I know you're a Gemini, or it's
and
funny.
You learn who you don't really mesh with.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
and
I'm not going to say the sign, but there's a sign that and it's for the females I just don't mesh with.
And what are you again?
I'm Aries.
You're Aries. Okay.
Yeah.
I think one of my sisters is an Aries. Okay. I can kind of see that.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, like I have 2 very close friends that are both women, both Sagittarius. And they're very strong-willed. Like they don't take crap off of anyone.
Very adventurous.
Exactly.
And adventure.
I'm kind of like a little more easygoing, so it always surprises me that I get along so well with the Sagittarius. And then
you don't like confrontation. Geminis don't like confrontation.
No, we don't.
They're peaceful people.
Yeah.
but very smart, very always thinking, reading, exploring. Have to like my daughter, like I swear she was like came out, an adult, when she was born as a Gemini.
What, earlier in the month, middle of the month, or?
June 15th, middle.
Oh, that's 2 days after mine.
Oh, hey, see?
Yeah, somebody told me once, like, "Oh, yeah, you're like a Gemini." I guess there's a extra
Yeah.
crispy bucket version of Gemini. I don't know.
They have like this certain deacons. There's so much to it. Like, our rising signs play a big part in it too. Like my Sag rising, because I'm very adventurous. I get bored easily. Since when my daughter was a baby, I used to put her in the car and go, "We're going on an adventure." And I would take her on the Palisades Parkway, and I said, "All right, Adria, you point to where you want me to go, like, pick an exit or say the number, and that's what we're gonna do." And that's what we would do. Like, and now she's 20, and we still do that.
That's awesome.
It's so
Also,
much
she's a
fun.
Gemini. She'll be like, "Cool, I'm on, let's go."
Yeah, yeah,
She's probably 2 years old. I'll drive.
yeah. Yeah, listen. This kid, like I remember, she walked into the bathroom by herself. I think she was 2 and went to the bathroom on her own. Never, we didn't even teach her.
Yep. I just
Gemini
remembered.
thing.
Yeah, actually, on my mom's side, my grandmother is a
Mhm,
Gemini, and she got divorced in the 50s, which was not very common back then.
mhm.
And then my mom would always laugh at me because I'm just like my grandmother. And then one day we figured out that my mom's dad was also a Gemini.
Oh,
And my mom's like, "No wonder I'm crazy. I was raised by 2 Geminis."
you
But
are dealing with 2 personalities.
yeah,
You
so
seriously
with
are.
because she was so familiar with my grandmother, and my dad, it's like when I was little, my dad's like, "What's going on with this kid?" And my mom's like, "He's like his grandmother. Yeah, he's fine. He'll slow
Yeah.
down in a second." But
Oh,
it's
no. You
yeah,
did
she has her own code words for me. When she calls me Gemini person, that's her way of saying slow down. So,
yeah. Oh,
but
I like that. That's so cute.
yes, or she'll call me by my grandmother's name, tell me I'm being really annoying. But my mom's a Leo, so that it's always going to be like confrontation there.
Oh, yeah. Does she have a nice head of hair?
Actually, yeah, she's always yeah.
That's the sign of the Leo, the mane, that's why they're the lion. I
Yeah,
have the
she's always
Leo
been
too,
obsessed with
so
her
my
hair.
hair has always been a big thing, with my look, my hair.
So, jump right into the early
Let's do it.
beginnings. So you've been communicating with spirits since you were 4 years old,
Yes.
and can you share some of those early experiences and how they shaped your
Sure.
path to where you are now?
Yeah, let me start you off. So, like, we moved to a small town in New Jersey when I was 4, and, right off the bat, did not like this house. Nobody did. There was something eerie about it. I woke up in the middle of the night, and my father was sitting at my bed, and I'm yelling for my mom to come in, and everyone's coming in the room, and I'm like, "Daddy's here, daddy's here." So I'm talking to daddy. My dad died 2 years prior. That's why we moved.
Oh,
So I never saw him again after that, which was sad. And but other things started coming through. Guess it opened a portal. And this one room in the house, the bedroom that I stayed in, definitely was a portal. There was a portal. I always felt like in the ceiling, in the roof of the house, because it's on the 3rd floor, and in this closet we had. But I started experiencing these other entities that were just not nice. They had somehow snuck through the portals. And I guess at such a young age, this is how I decipher this. And I believe this because we, with our auric field, we, of course, we all have an auric field, and we could see that. I could see people's. And uh, psychic mediums usually tend to bright differently. They shine differently.
I can see
These
that.
things knew this. These things that were
Ah,
coming in, they could
so,
say I was different. I can see them.
so you were
So
like a beacon to them.
exactly, they're like, "Yeah,
Oh,
let's go terrorize this little girl," and that's what they like to do. This it was horrible. I had the notorious Hat Man. I hated that guy. He was this tall, thin man with the hat. I would see him in my mind, and he would always come to my room and, like, just stare at me. And I just hid in the covers, like, just please leave until he left, And I started staying in my brother's room. And the weird thing was, I can hear him breathing, walking up to the threshold of the door. And I still haven't figured this out yet. But he can never cross that threshold to that room. But I could feel him, I could see him, I could always see him in my mind. He was sitting there breathing heavy, and I knew he wanted to put fear into me. Fear was a big thing.
Could it
Now,
could it have been maybe because you were more open, your room, your domicile, was a little more open as well, and if your brother wasn't open to that world, maybe it was more of a barrier?
very well could be. I know that this particular room was built later because this is a really old house. So this was like an addition.
Ooh, you
So if
ever
somebody had brought that up to him, like, possibly. I don't know if it was because we put value, like, people do spells and everything.
mhm,
And I would say a spell is just like, I have put an intention into something. Like, my bracelets and I feel this protects me. My husband got me this cross, and I know it protects me. I put the intention there because my husband protects me. I think because I always felt so safe with my brother that the intention is that it couldn't come in there because my brother is gonna kick your butt. But,
yeah,
these things
I have a
outside of that
necklace like
room
that. I have a necklace like that my sister made for me many years ago, and I still wear it every day
mean
to this
something.
day.
It has meaning to it. Just like in the, movie, Practical Magic, and I remember at one point at the end, she says to the cop, she's like, "Listen," she goes, "that badge that you have, the star, you believe that protects you, so it does."
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm like, "Yeah, that's exactly how it works. That's all really a spell is." Um, so anywho, but this thing outside of that room, like, I would be watching TV with my family and something would grab me. I remember something grabbed my side and left a welt on my body. I was getting pushed in front of my family. My family could not see them, but that you could feel something in the air. You can always feel when you go to a haunted location, whether you're psychic or not, you could feel the energies off.
There's been a couple
I
of
was
places I've been to like that, yeah.
And so they were terrorizing me like that. There was one incident, this is the most scariest thing that ever happened, and this thing actually stayed with me for a long time. And I woke up in that room in the middle of the night as a little girl, and woke up and on my dresser next to me, even though it's dark, I have my doll there. So I wanted to play my doll, so I'm playing with her. I turn over and there's this black figure. It's probably 3 feet tall, but laying like side. It was I always called it the statue. It had red glowing eyes. And I was just like in shock seeing this. And I remember, now I'm only going to say it once, but it said 3 times to me because it's like Beetlejuice. But it repeated 3 times, I'm gonna get you. But it's like, I'm gonna get you. And I just screamed and I was out of that room. Nobody ever stayed in that room ever again. And all weird shit happened in that room. Just hearing babies crying, uh, just the energy was off. And the closet in there, I just was weird to me. And most hauntings that I go to, the homes I go to, it's always the freaking closet. They like to hide in those dark spaces. But we had found out that underneath the closet, there's like a trap door. We never opened it because it was covered.
Right.
My dad would have killed us, my stepdad. So, but this thing now had started invading my dreams. It wanted me. It wanted to hurt me. It kept it would mimic my mom's voice in the middle of the night, and I would get up and walk in the dark and find, and I'm like, I hear my mom, and I knew the voice was off. It's my mom's voice, but it was like in another dimension. Calling April, and I want to go look for my mom because I had lost my dad. I don't want to lose my mom.
So kind of like an echo in a sense.
Yeah. So I would find myself at the foot of the stairs. It wanted me to fall down the stairs. It wanted me to die. Uh, so it started invading my dreams, and in my dreams, it would show me that I could fly down the stairs. Now I'm still
Oh.
So I tried to do that. My mom had stopped me. She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I can fly downstairs. I can fly." You know, I saw it in my dreams, but it was telling me I could. It
That
wanted me to
had
do it
that had to
myself.
freak your mom out.
Yeah, yeah.
So automatically, I've got like 2 or 3 questions off the top of my head for this,
Or
or like interconnecting. So the bedroom you stayed in, that was an add-on to the house?
no, that was part of the house. The bedroom, my brother's bedroom was an additional room added on.
So there's always been, I mean, I've heard folklore or legend, whatever you want to call it, that adding a room or tearing down a wall in a house can actually disturb the spirits.
Mhm. Yes.
So
New construction, you always hear about that.
yeah,
I get calls all the time for that. "Hey, I just started, redoing my home. We just bought this house." I was flown out to Ohio because people that bought a home and started construction had crazy stuff. And as a matter of fact, we, along with, a friend of mine who actually invited me to they told them about me. She went, we were flown out to Ohio, did not know where I was going in Ohio. All I knew was I was going to Ohio. And they flew out a demonologist in exorcism. So I was involved in the exorcism. He was amazing, amazing, but it was crazy.
yeah, 'cause I think the phrasing that I heard was when you do that, you're putting a doorway where there wasn't meant to be one, so
Hmm,
that
yeah,
would disturb the spirits.
that
And
makes so much sense.
so, and then the other 2 questions that popped into my head is, do you would you classify these figures you saw or sensed, would you classify them as shadow figures, as it's kind of popular these days in the paranormal community?
I could see them. I could see them. They were human form. I don't think the Hat Man, the notorious Hat Man, was of human form. I don't think he was ever human, uh, but he portrayed himself that way. That thing that was in my bed, I'm going to say it felt demonic. It was not human. It was never human. It was never of this earth. It it was bad. It wanted me to die. It wanted me to die. So
That yeah, and that story reminded me of, Amy Allen from the Dead Files, psychic medium
I
for
love
that show.
Amy.
She, I watched some interviews with her, and she pretty much had the same experience you did as a
Really?
child. But for her, it was always shadow figures. And one time when she was like 5 years old or something like that, very, very little, they tried to get her to bite into an electrical cord.
Mhm.
So that's when you told me about the stairs. I'm like,
That
oh,
something like that happened with Kim Russo.
really?
I believe wait. I know she did something with a socket. She stuck something. I don't know if they were trying to make her wait, forgive me, I forgot, but I remember there was a story with Kim Russo doing something where it shocked her. She stuck something into a socket.
Wow.
Yeah.
So maybe those
Wow.
figures see people with your
What a
abilities
threat.
as they want to take care of a future threat.
Yeah. I
Wow.
always felt because I knew young that I was supposed to help people. I knew my purpose in life as a young child. I am here to help people, of service.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it's some that's it's funny in numerology. I'm a number 9, and that's they say that's the godlike number where we are uh, bestowed here for humanity to help humanity. So we are a
Wow.
service to people.
Yeah. I
So
think
that's
I looked that up. I figured out the numbers one time. This is a couple of years ago. I think I'm an 8 in numerology, but I
ooh,
forgot
8
what.
checks money flow, continuous money flow. It's lucky.
Okay.
Um, you know,
Oh,
infinity too. The infinity sign.
oh, that's right.
I love the number 8.
I'm gonna look that up again just to verify. Okay. My,
Yeah.
my mom my mom will be very happy to hear that. And
Well,
she actually.
I'll tell you, like, I like, even with tarot, like, because I know you dabble with the tarot.
Mhm,
I used to teach my students, like, listen, it's whatever you feel. Like, you can learn everything you know, even the numbers. How does it feel to you?
exactly.
You know? So you
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, because when people have talked to me, like, "Oh, you taught yourself?" I'm like, "Well, I'm a book nerd to begin with, so I started
Mm.
with one book, and then
Yes.
I tend to collect books. I'm not a hoarder, really. I'm not a hoarder. I'm not in
No,
denial about that.
listen, books are not hoarding. Those, that's
There you
knowledge.
go. And the way I did it, and the way I recommend to people is I tell them start with the major arcana because it's easier to pick up
Yeah,
22 cards than all 78 because that's too intimidating. Start with the major arcana. Okay, pick up one card. If you've got 5 books in the tarot that you like, find 3 things that those books all have in common with that one card.
yeah.
If they say, if those books can agree on 3 topics about that one card, write that down, and then whatever you feel after that. Because
Mhm.
I have a friend who is he's a professional magician and a mentalist.
Yeah,
And when I started to study the tarot, because he and I would go out to like a bar, have a couple beers, someone hand him a deck of cards, and he'd do these amazing tricks. And I'm
yeah.
like, I don't know magic
Oh, he
tricks.
must be fun to have around.
Oh yeah. So that kind of was what spurred. Well, we used to read tarot a lot when we were kids in my
Yeah,
household. We either had a tarot deck or a Ouija board around. We were a strange family. But so I was little by little, and he told me early on when I was studying how to teach myself tarot, he's like, you want to be thorough because you may come across someone that you read for who knows how to read the tarot, but they're not telling you, and they want to test you. They want to see if you know what you're doing. And I'm like,
I'm like, when I have people like that, I always tell them, don't look at the cards because I have a totally different interpretation than you do.
oh,
So,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah, and it's a lot of things. I mean, for me, it's especially the way I read because I'll hand them cards, tell them mix up cards, think of a question, but don't tell me the question,
yeah.
and then I'll interpret from there. That way, people can't say, well, you can make the cards fit any question. Technically,
Mhm.
maybe I could, but if I don't know your question, how could I do that?
Yeah. It's your style, and I like that. That's very good.
And I found, especially because I've read for both men and women, and both men and women a couple of different times, they've almost come to tears with my reading, and I feel
Yeah.
bad. I'm like, we can stop right now. I don't want to upset you. They're like, no,
Oh,
no.
now I want a reading.
I I would be honored to read for the second
We'll
housewife
do
in
a little
Jersey.
exchange.
Awesome. And so when I saw how the effect that this can have on people, it kind of like it was very humbling. To like,
Can I tell
okay,
you something though that I was picking up about you? You are going to get like some type of offer, business offer,
okay,
regarding either the podcast. It has to do with media.
oh, okay,
Yeah, so something is going to be coming in. There's some type of offer coming to you regarding media. So it's got to be the podcast. I keep seeing around you.
oh,
Somebody's going to reach out to you. There's something for you coming up, which will
awesome,
add some type of finances to it. I would give this mid-year into 2025 when I see this happening, you
okay.
know. I want to tell you, be patient. Be patient. But I do see it will bring in financial success, finances in. Um, everything's about to do a flip for you now. Let me ask
Um,
you something. Did you have an experience when you were younger, though?
what kind?
Like a paranormal experience?
Um, the one that stands out to me,
Because they keep seeing a little boy being scared, like a holding on to like a stuffed animal, a teddy bear or something.
that no, the only paranormal experience I could say, and it wasn't that terrifying. It was more like because when you're a kid, you're like, oh wow, that was
Yeah.
looking back now, I'm like, oh crap. I was probably I don't know 8 years old, maybe around that time, and my
Mhm.
sister and I, one of my sisters, we were kind of bored, one morning. So my sister and I were sitting there watching TV. We're just bored out of our skulls. And because growing up in our house, we're Native American, my mom's side.
Mm.
So we've always had an open mind to the spirit world and all
Yeah.
that. And growing up, all my sisters, my mom, they had most of the paranormal experiences. I really didn't, if at all. And this is the
Yeah.
only one that comes to mind. So I said, well, what if I make a Ouija board out of the donut box? So it turned
Ha.
out it was like one of those rectangle donut boxes. I put all the symbols on there, cut up made a little planchette, and it worked. So we're communicating with whatever this was. And at one point, I asked it, well, if I turn the board upside down, can you hold a little planchette in place? And it said yes. So I'm like, okay, let's see it. I lifted it up, turned it over, and it held it in place. So then we knew enough back then to at least close it out. So we finish it up, we close it out,
Yeah.
and I lift it up and I turn it over, and it falls to the floor as it normally would.
Mm.
So that is like probably my earliest personal paranormal experience
Yeah.
as a child. So now the other question I had, so like I said, your story reminded me of Amy Allen's story, and
Yeah.
then when you were talking about the portals, I fully believe that portals exist,
Yeah.
and obviously the average person cannot see them. But my question is, it's like, do you see it in a sense? Do you feel it? Do you sense it? I mean, how do you know if there's a portal somewhere?
Um, well, usually, I'm going to a location when I get a phone call for, a famous location to go there, or to a home. That's when I sense. When, like, like now, I'm not sensing anything. I have to intentionally put my intention to look for, not even look. I have to walk through. I do walkthroughs. Like, I'm going to be filming a show coming up next month, a TV show.
Awesome,
So
awesome.
I'll be walking through the locations and telling what I'm picking up. So it's like that. I can also, I helped a, a deceased woman that was haunting a home, and I opened the portal for her to go through. I helped like open that or made her aware of it. I'm not saying I opened it, but my intention was out there for her to walk through it, and it appeared, to that ball of light, that light that people talk about. I've seen that. I've seen it 3 times, and it
So
wows the hell out of me, but scares me at the same time because that's a portal. That's a doorway to go to
that's
heaven.
yeah, I can see how it would be fascinating and terrifying at the same time because you're
Yeah, it
still
was absolutely terrifying.
you're still a human being. You're still on this earth. You're like,
Oh, yeah.
and that sounds because that's another show that my sister Eva just loved. She like watched every single episode. Was The Ghost Whisperer,
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah.
that reminded me of like when you said it, like you pointed them towards the way, and on the show she always said, "I can't see what you're seeing, but that's what I'm here for to help you. That's where you need to go. That's your
Well,
next
let me tell
stage."
you the story so your sister could see this. I had this, well, actually, my friend, they had contacted my friend, and she doesn't do this. And she said, "Can you help them?" And they were actually really close by to me. So I called the woman. As soon as I got on the phone with her, I could see what was going on there. And it's my biggest fear, but I'm over it now. The creepy crawly women that crawl on the floor? That's what I was seeing. I was seeing this woman crawling up like the wall and knocking things off the wall, like shelves and stuff. So I don't tell the lady this because I don't want to be afraid. So I go to the house, and it's funny too. I love black salt. I use black salt wherever I go. So I throw black salt on the ground and I step in it just to absorb any negative energy from me. And when I leave,
Wow.
I throw it down and I step in it again to absorb the energy. And it's funny that when I did that, the a huge wet spot, or I don't know what it was, where the salt was, appeared. Like it drew out the negative energy. So,
I've
and
actually, I it's been a few months, almost maybe a year or so since I've done it, but I actually make black salt,
oh, I love black salt.
and
Favorite.
I was just fascinated by it. So I'm like, okay, let me make one batch of it, because I was just something about it just really drew me. I guess
Yeah.
part what fascinates me about the paranormal, okay, for me, it's like it's two parts. It's like I love urban legends. I like to
Hmm.
find out how the story originated.
Yes.
Where, especially if there's a certain location. Hey, the story started in this location. I like to find out the origin. And when it's coming to deal with the paranormal, I think because in my nature, because I grew up with so many women and I'm
Yes.
instinctively protective around women in my life, or I'm just a protective person.
My brother was the only boy too, with 4 girls, 5 girls,
Oh,
4 girls,
I feel his pain.
5 girls. I'm like, wait,
Tell
we
your
both
brother,
have 5.
I tell your brother, I'm like, I feel your pain, man. Yeah. But and what fascinates me about dealing with the paranormal is the ways that you can protect yourself
Mhm.
from them. Some of these old school ways that people
Yeah.
might scoff at, and this has been proven to me here and there over the years, where it's like, wow, these things do happen, and there are real world applications you can take.
Yeah.
One time, it's a real short story, but I was still living in LA at the time, and I had like an Uber or Lyft ride, and the young man who was driving, we were talking. I told him about my channel, and we were talking about that, and he's like, "Well, I know my home's haunted." And I'm like, "Really? How?" And he gave me a couple of examples, and I'm like, "Well, there's a couple of things you can do." So I had a piece of paper with me, and I wrote down a few things, and I could tell he was nice, but I could tell he was kind of humoring me, like, "Yeah, right,"
Yeah, exactly. I'm not doing this.
you know, and
So,
and I'm like, "Yeah, you can pick up this stuff at a grocery store at Home Depot. It might cost you 10, $20 max, if that." And at one point I told him, I go, "Oh, iron. Iron disrupts spectral energy." I go, and back in the old days, like hundreds of years ago in Scotland, Ireland, they would put iron above, or like nails above doors and windows, or even in
they
baby
use
cribs.
they what is it? What do they call them? Coffin nails, or what were
Yeah,
those nails?
yeah,
Um
some nails or railroad spikes.
yeah,
They would.
railroad spike. Yeah, but you know what? That one home I did in Ohio, they had them around the house at the windows.
I have
Yeah.
railroad spikes in my closet.
Yeah. I have
uh,
them too.
Yeah, I mean, and my family, like, if they go out and they see old, especially old rusty ones that have a higher iron content, they always snag them for me. I'm like, cool, take
Yeah.
them. And when I told him this, I go, yeah, they used to put them over doorways and windows.
Oh
His
yeah.
eyes just bugged out. So apparently, where he was living right then with his girlfriend, they had just moved in there a few months before. He
Yeah.
said whoever lived there before them had put nails above all
Uh,
the doors and windows.
mhm.
And he didn't know why he didn't want to do that, so he took them all down. And
Yeah.
I'm like, let me guess, that's when all the haunted stuff started. He's like, yeah. I'm like, well, I go, you know, this is something, unless you're into this kind of stuff, you're not going to be aware of that. So by
Yeah.
doing that, you inadvertently opened up your home again. But,
Yeah.
and now my little list became the most important document he ever read. And
Yeah.
then he commented on the video of mine a couple of weeks later. He's like, "Hey, Eric, Tony, just want to thank you so much. I really appreciate it." So I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
So it was
That's
little things
great.
like
You can
that.
help people. Yeah.
And yeah, that's part of it. It's helping people, and I find it fascinating. Like these old school legends and folklore actually work to this day. To protect yourself against these kind
Mhm.
of negative things. So that's the part of the paranormal I've always found fascinating. And that's why I
Yeah.
like to learn more of. And that's what led me to making black salt. So, but I only made it for a few
I buy
members of
my
my
black
family.
salt at this little shop called Practical Magic in a little town, excuse me, a little town in upstate New York. It's called Practical Magic, and the town is called Sugarloaf, New York, and it's a little magical town. They have a crystal shop. There's another place there, the Lighthouse Curiosity Shop, which I love. I love the owner. She's like the town witch there, and she has another place up in Nye. She's fabulous. She has a great shop. But yeah, I just was drawn to these people, and I love the woman because I talk to her all the time, and I said I like her, so I believe in the salt that she gives me, so I feel protected by her because I like her, and I don't have time to make my own.
Awesome. Yeah.
But
It is. Yeah.
let me
It is.
tell you about going into this home now. So after
Yes.
I do that, I go into home. I walk in the door, and I walk past the woman. I said, "Let me." I walk right past. I go into her kitchen. I said, "I see the woman crawling up these walls, and she's knocking down the shelves." She said, "Yeah, this stuff is falling off the walls." And I said, "And you're hearing?" I'm in the living room now. I walk into the living room. It's connected, and I said, "You're hearing scratching and banging on the floor." And she's like, "Yeah." I said, "She's downstairs." I said, "Let me just do a walkthrough." So I'm walking through the house. I go through all the kitchen. I go into all the bedrooms. I come to the main bedroom and I walk in there, and this woman starts pushing me out, and she's like, "Get out, get out, get out." I'm like, "Okay, all right, lady." Um, so I picked up, her name was Claire, and I said to the woman, I said, "Who's Claire?" She goes, "Oh, that's my mom. She just died." I said, "Well, she's not letting anyone in this room." And she goes, "It's funny." She goes, "Since this has been happening, the whole family has been sleeping in the main bedroom because of the activity." And then I said, "Well, Claire is in there, and she won't even let me in," which I knew she was good. I knew she wasn't bad. So I'm like, "All right, lady, no problem." So now I go down in the basement. I remember walking around too, and I said, "Who's Brian? Brian the fireman?" And she says, "Hold on a minute." She goes and pulls out a fireman's uniform gear with the name Brian and his last name on it. Their friend had just passed. I said, he's here too, protecting the house.
Wow.
Yes, it's nice. So I said, all right. Oh, and you know what's funny? This will go off into another story, but I have to tell you, almost every home I've been to, locations to, I've always sensed this other entity that was not good, non-human. Always at these locations, and I'm like,
The same one?
same one.
Do you think?
Or the same type.
Okay.
They're all like the same, but I know they're all others, but they're what they do. It was weird. I would always feel this going into places, and when I would get there, I wouldn't feel them anymore. So anyway, so I go into his house, and I said, "Let me walk around." I walk around, and I could feel the woman. I feel her, the creepy woman, and I get her. I find her. I corner her. She's in this corner area in the basement, and I start to talk to her, and it turns out she lived there with her husband. She had mental issues, and the husband had to put her away. And it killed him because he loved her so much, but he wanted to put her in the best place. He sold the house to put her in a mental facility. And
Wow.
she came back looking for him. So I
Oh.
had to explain him. Now I talked to her. Now she's no longer the creepy woman. She goes back into human form. And it was funny. She was like in a white gown, like hospital gown too. And a mess, and I said, listen, you can go be with your husband. Now, I don't say this out loud. I'm saying this, I have this conversation like I do when I do readings. I'm having conversations in my head with them. And I said, you can cross over. And then I said, cross over to light. Your husband's there. You can they always follow you with the light. Your loved ones are there. That's why I always tell people, don't be afraid when you die that you're going to get lost. You will not get lost. There's certain circumstances that happen. You'll always cross. Anyway, with that light appeared. It was this ball of light. I was so scared. I was just so scared, and she just got sucked into it. It took her, but in a good way, not in a bad way, because this is hard to cross over, be with the family.
I'm picturing Patrick Swayze in Ghost.
Exactly, that's exactly how it was.
The
Yeah,
hospital scene early when he's still trying to figure out that he's a
yeah,
ghost, and the old guy is talking to him, and you see the
yeah,
one guy and the little lights. That always that movie, just the concepts of
yeah.
heaven and hell in that movie.
Because they probably consulted with somebody that does this. I will tell you, the light is a big ball of light, and it's so bright. And I remember getting a reading one time when I first saw it. Now, I'm a medium. I'm talking to another medium, and they started bringing my family members, like every family member. And this ball of light appeared in front of us, and I remember saying, "Oh my God, do you see that? Do you see that? Do you see this light?" I'm like, and then I can't breathe. And I usually can't, I could feel the pressure. And this is scientifically proven. The barometric pressure changes when there's spirit around. So now imagine that all the spirits come through. I can't breathe. It feels like the cement on my chest. Make it go away. Stop, stop, stop. And his ball light's getting brighter, and they're all coming through. And it's
That had to be
I was like,
terrifying.
yeah, that was the first time it happened to me, but now I understand why, Um, so it was something that needed to happen to me. But that was my first time. That one was the second time. I forgot my third time. I had a third time. I gotta remember. But anyway, we were able to cross her over. Now the funny thing is, like, while I'm there, I'm not telling them this. But I went into, there was this one little utility room, tiny, in the basement, and I could feel something had been there that I didn't like, that wasn't her. And I said, yeah, we had weird stuff happen there. And I'm like, I don't feel it anymore. So now, I don't know. I'm going to, I go to other locations. I'm traveling all over. And then one time I went to this famous haunted location, and they never let anyone down in the basement. They wanted to give me a private tour. They had given this other famous psychic from the UK a tour down there too. They don't let anyone, now they do let people in the basement.
This Zach Bagans Haunted Museum.
No, I haven't been there yet.
Oh, you got to go. That's
No.
one of my other creepy experiences was there, and
Well,
no,
let me tell you this: the
no
basement.
place.
When I get down there, all of a sudden I could pick up on this tall, lanky man, and I could feel the frequency of his body and his energy, but it was going faster than I can keep up with, and that's how it is. But he was doing it on purpose. Now this thing also had a bloody devil face. The other psychic had picked up the same thing I did, except not the bloody face. I saw the bloody devil face. This thing started to raise its vibration, and it was like almost like making the room spin, and it was affecting my auric field, my energy, that I started getting dizzy and I'm nauseous now. He's messing with me. He's messing with me. He's penetrating my auric field. I don't like this. I can't stay here. I run up the stairs. I'm like nauseous and I'm sitting there. And this is going to sound really crazy, but I'm sitting and all of a sudden the wall, remember like in, Friday the 13th when Freddy Krueger comes through the wall, it's like rubbery.
Oh yeah.
Thing did that to me, and it let me know that he's not here for me or the living. He's here to keep the souls. And I said, oh my God, all right, I know who you are.
Keep this.
I call them the soul keepers.
Is this a good thing or kind of?
No, it's a bad thing. They're non-human things that like to keep trapped souls at locations. So this is a famous haunted location. There's a lot of entities there that people have picked up. There's stories behind it. These things are at every location trying to keep these souls trapped here on earth, keep them from going to heaven. So what other could that be? They're not good.
Oh.
I have seen this. So all of a sudden, when this happens, I have an epiphany, and all of a sudden, in my mind, I'm going through every location I've been at, and that thing has been at every friggin' location. But every time I would feel him before going. But when I got there, I thought that I did such a great job, I got rid of him too. No, he hid from me. He hid from me. He was away for another soul. But this is why they don't like me, because I can't.
So, do you think he hid from you because he knew you could dispatch
Do
him?
that. Yeah. So he didn't want to. I don't know where I would send him because he's not, well, we're all gonna go to the same place. That's another story within itself.
Wow.
But
Yeah, I mean,
but
I've got this is fascinating, and I've got cold chills at the same time.
they didn't want me to find them. But I'll tell you, this one that I encountered scared the crap out of me because I've never had anyone that was able to affect me in that way. My energy field, my frequency, but he was letting me know, don't mess with me. Don't mess with me, bitch, because I'm going to go after you, basically. And I'm like, you know what? You do you. I'm like, I know, because when I went there, I have to sign, a
Disclosure,
waiver that
right?
I won't cross anyone over, which every location makes me do that. That's up to you. Because people get mad at me, like, why don't you cross the way? Hey, listen, this is their business. I can't, I signed a paper, they'll find their way. We all do. Time here is different than it is there. There is no time. So it's not like, us waiting 20 years, you're thinking that it's happening to them. It's not like that at all. They will have their time.
So, it sounds like you may have with the lady that was in the basement with her husband sold the house. But what I want to know: have you encountered a spirit of someone who didn't realize they're deceased? And if so, how do you? I mean, do you tell them or?
Yeah. Some of them, during a reading I was doing, for a client, their very angry mother came through. That was not very nice to this person or the rest of the children. And she like refused, like she's dead, but she refused to do her life review. Listen, we all make it to heaven, but we make it to this one spot, and it's the life review where you're going to kind of like sit in front of a computer and watch your life. This is your life, and good or bad. You're going to see things like, all right, you gave this person money, and they were able to get another job and get themselves on their feet, and it shows you the good you did and how it affected her, the family, for generations. But then also you got the flip side, how you treated somebody. The killers, like you killed a father, how it affected that wife to raise children, without the father, how it affected the children. We have to be held responsible. You must see that. They just want you to watch, to see what you did, and then you can cross the threshold. This woman refused to do it because she knew she wasn't nice. So she was very nasty during the reading, and I was nasty right back to her. I
So
didn't
she
take it. Yeah.
she didn't want to confront
What she
the
did. She
the
wouldn't take
negative
the
stuff she
conflict.
did,
Yeah. So
and
she's
that
that
was keeping
union.
her.
She was what?
That was keeping her here or on this plane.
You know what? She wasn't actually in this plane. She was kind of still stuck there at that, that I like to say the waiting area, the review area. She's staying there because she
Wow.
felt safe there, not safe down here. Some were there. So, you could call it purgatory, whatever you want.
I was just going to ask that
Yeah.
because that sounds like the way station in between.
Now, I'm also a shaman. So when I studied for this, I belong to a tribe, and it's hairy. I have been to the dark side. It's creepy, it's crazy. It's a feeling of nothingness, a feeling of hopelessness. It's crazy. So that's where they're keeping themselves in perpetual hopelessness, and it's just horrible. Imagine nothingness, just nothingness. That's basically. Oh my god! I just saw something in front of me. So weird. The feeling of nothingness, of hopelessness. That's what it felt like. And it was this buzzing. I would hear this buzzing noise that was just so annoying. And it was dark and it was dreary. There was no like sunlight, but there was light, but it wasn't sunlight. It was just weird. I had to experience this as a shaman because we deal with the darker side, the shadow side of things.
Yeah. I have a buddy that you might like talking to. He kind of does the same thing. He was one of my earliest guests on the podcast.
Mhm.
He's actually Navajo, and he and his brother have a small group of Navajo ghost hunters.
Oh,
And I met them at a
really?
Paracon.
I
Yeah.
want that information.
Oh, tell yeah. His name is Sean Clan, one of the nicest guys you ever want to meet.
What
I
is it?
mean, it's kind of an unusual name. Sean Clan. It's SHANCLEN. Sean Clan, and his YouTube channel, because he went off and did it like his own separate thing.
Yeah,
He's separated from the group. Their family, obviously, so they're always still in
yeah,
contact. But he started his own thing with his own YouTube channel, and it has just taken off. His channel
yeah.
is like skyrocketed, and but he does a lot. He's been on Ghost Adventures. He was on a couple episodes of
Oh,
Ghost
I think,
Adventures.
yeah, I know who that is. Yeah.
Something like Skinwalker Canyon or something. It was like about
Yeah,
last year.
Skinwalker Ranch and all that, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
he's a big burly Native American dude, and because I'm Chickasaw on my mom's side from Oklahoma, and I went to
yeah,
this Paracon and I met these guys. I'm like, hey guys, I saw this, I read about you, and I go, I'm Chickasaw. As soon as I said I'm Chickasaw, they're like, brother, what's up? It's all
yeah.
cool. And then yeah, they actually had a REM pod on their table, and when I started telling them a couple of my stories, the REM pod started going off.
Oh, that's crazy.
They looked at it and they looked at me and they looked back at it and looked at me and they're like, that ain't us, brother. You got something with you. I'm like,
See,
wonderful.
Eric, you're in the right field.
I guess so. And then a little while later, I actually met Patty Negri and I talked to her about.
Patty's a good friend of mine. She was in my second issue of Ghosted magazine.
Wow.
Um, yeah, and that, let me tell you, that issue, our second issue, sold out in less than 22 hours. That people were driving us crazy. That we had to reprint it,
That's
and
awesome. That's a great
that
problem to have.
sold out in less than 22 hours. But I have worked with Patty. We just did the Warren Paracon.
Hmm.
We had an event called the Supernatural Soiree, which Patty did a midnight seance on the Battleship New Jersey, which is haunted.
Wow.
So yeah,
Yeah. I
love
went to
Patty.
the Warren's Paracon, the one they had 2 years ago. It was
Yeah.
in Connecticut,
Yes.
and I couldn't make the one this year, but it looked like it was pretty good.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. We had a great time.
Yeah, I don't know. I just find all that stuff about the Warrens
Oh, I
really
love them.
fascinating. I've met John
You know, I get
Zaffis a
to
couple
spend a
times.
weekend there with them. Like I love them. I love Nesper. They are just a great group of men that preserve the name and the home of Ed and Lorraine Warren along with the museum. But I got to spend time there. I had breakfast at Lorraine in Lorraine's kitchen where Ed and Lorraine would sit. Had breakfast, had lunch there, had dinner there. We went to do a story on them. We all became very good friends. The house is still the same as they left it. Uh,
Wow.
Crazy. Got a private tour, not a free tour, a private tour of the museum, which was just
Yeah, that I would. I mean, because I've been to Zach Bagans' museum in Las Vegas, and that was unusual. I mean, that place is
yeah.
wall to
Oh, I
wall.
love Zach.
Yeah,
Huge fan. I just interviewed Jeff Conkle, who's his equipment guy.
is that
That
the
builds
big guy with gray hair and like a beard?
no, you know what? I think no, he's oh wait, he does have the gray beard. Yes, he always wears the beanie. The
I think
He's
so.
the old guy
Yeah.
with the beanie. Yeah, Jeff Conkle. He designs only for Ghost Adventure. His all the equipment is made by Jeff.
Wow.
Yeah. Matter
Wow.
of fact, I just talked to Jeff yesterday.
You know, there's a new museum that been seeing popping up recently that I'm like, I want to reach out to him and I want to talk to the guy. It's in Pennsylvania and it's actually a vampire and paranormal
Oh
museum.
yes, 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 yes. I haven't
Uh,
been there yet.
a gentleman named, I think, Mr. Crimmy is his last name.
Yeah.
And so I've been watching some videos about it, and I want to reach out to him and like talk to him about it
Oh
because
my
it
God, yeah.
looks fascinating. Um, but yeah, so the portals thing was fascinating to me. You know, it's like what could you say to someone though that didn't realize they had passed on? I can't even imagine where you would begin.
Well,
Now,
I try to like, because I have to deal with this with suicides. It's like, you know what it is because they're afraid because they think they did something bad, against God. You're raised Catholic, taking your own life, you're going to hell. And it's not that at all. And that's why they're scared. They're scared, the light comes to them. They're like, no, I don't want to go there because you're going to send me over there, down there. So I talk to them and then, but some don't want to go, some are stubborn, some don't leave. I can't make them leave.
this
Yeah.
if they, I mean, but and this is just me wondering if they see a light, wouldn't that be an indication they wouldn't be going to the negative place,
Well,
or
you know what?
it could go either way?
What happens is, like in um what was it, Poltergeist? She's like go into light and the things telling them not to go into light. What happens is the things I talk about, the soul collectors, they like to tell them don't go into light. They're lying to you.
Oh, see,
Yeah,
that sounds like a horror movie right there, the Soul Collector,
exactly.
or even the name. What was the name? Soul Keepers.
Soul collector. That's a name that I call them. And
Huh.
yeah, they're creepy as high. I can't say I don't like them. I've ran into them. So I did another house. As a matter of fact, I did a house for this man here in Jersey, and I remember going there, and he tell me what happened was crazy. He was getting wet towels thrown at him. He was be sitting in his living room. Now you would have to like throw from around the corner. Would have to make a turn to hit him. And this guy's a vet. Not no nonsense. Doesn't believe in all this. To this is all crap to him.
Tough
But
guy.
he knows that there's something going on, and he just wants it to stop. So I went there. I told him what I was seeing, and and I was able. I said, again, another soul collector was there controlling this woman, but and his poltergeist activity. But I remember saying to him, I said, "Did you redo something with the wall here, and you found children's books?" And he's like, "Yeah." And it was this woman who was kind of stuck. She was looking for her kids. She had died, and wanted to come back. She's looking for a kid. She's not crossing over without kids. I got rid of her. I was able to cross her over, tell her kids okay. This thing, the soul collector was controlling her to do bad things. So I said, listen, I got rid of her. I said, I got this thing at bay. I said, I guarantee in a year you're going to be calling me because he didn't leave. She left, he didn't leave. I can't control him. He's gone now, like, So
So are
a year to the day, the guy called me, I have to I can't make him go, you know. But I'll tell you why. Because it's a two-family home that he owns with these other people, but the guy below him is a vet with PTSD, and I think
mm,
it's attached to him. He will not talk to me. He will not let me down there. And
so the soul collector, you say they want to keep souls trapped. So are they more like, do they influence these souls? Just
yes, they
like,
influence them.
do they feed on their insecurities about maybe going to hell and like, no, if you
Yeah,
stay
it's
here,
like,
you won't.
it is because they're one of them. They feel like they're one of them because they're not here alive. They're not alive. It's another dead person with them. I'm going to trust them.
Ah,
Yeah.
ooh,
Don't
oh,
trust the living.
that's sneaky. That is
It is
so
sneaky. It
that's
is sneaky.
diabolical.
It
Ooh,
is. So this is where, I come in and go to these homes and do this. I can't get, like you can see this on TV, but I can't guarantee I can always get rid of people because we do have free will. And this thing I have no control over. These things, listen, I could go on a mission to really find out about them and really contact, but it's too much of my time. It's dangerous for me, for
it
my
sounds
family.
like it would take
Yeah.
a lot out of you too, like
Yeah,
spiritually.
and I gotta live and I do my life with my family. If I was not married and did not have a child, I would do this, but I can't put them in harm's way either and bring this. I actually had to do a home to where the guy was possessed. And there are telltale signs, as a shaman we know this, and it's not like the exorcism, where it's like spitting out. This guy was perfectly aware what was going on, but they were having activity, poltergeist activity. He knew the thing. He saw the thing. He liked it. And he said to me, this guy owns two businesses, got money, family, young kids. He liked it. He
So
always like walking on that fine line. This guy.
so he was cognizant of being possessed, but he was
He was
okay with
letting
it.
it in. He was okay because he wasn't fully, but he liked it. And I remember, so I go to the house, and I'm upstairs in his bedroom with him, and I'm doing prayers and talking to him, and he had his back towards the door to come into the bedroom, and between the across was another bedroom, which had a big white door, and in between the two bedrooms was this bathroom, and the bathroom had its light on, so the door across from me was illuminated. Now I'm talking to this guy. I'm on my last paragraph of the prayer, and I'm done. And with this, he says to me, because I don't want to get rid of him, April. He goes, I like it. And I knew when he said that, I was in trouble. I was open now. This thing's gonna go after me. And with him saying, and I'm leaving, I'm done. I'm not doing this. When he said that, all of a sudden this 7-foot black figure comes out of the bathroom, crosses that bright white door, and blacks it out. He doesn't look at me, but he walks past to let me know he's there. He was just released. And I said, okay, then I'm done. I'm out of here. Ran down the stairs. Out the door, I looked at the wife. I said, he won't let me help you. I said, I have to go. I was scared. I didn't want to bring this home with me. I knew this thing was going to go after me now because he gave it permission. I got my car. I'm telling you, I kept looking in my rearview mirror to see if this thing's in my back seat. I was scared. I cannot bring this home to my family. It stayed with him. You know, that's very rare that they do follow you.
So did he invite this into his life, like Ouija board, seance, anything like that, or any kind of ritual, or did it just kind of
I
happen to him?
don't think so, but I think his lifestyle, like, I think he liked to dabble with drugs. He liked the dark side. He liked it.
So
Not
his
saying he was doing, they weren't into this, like Ouija boards, paranormal, anything like that, but subconsciously, he liked the dark side.
so he kind of weakened his own psychic defenses
Yeah,
without realizing that.
yeah. I'm
Yeah.
not, listen, again, like I'm married with a child. I cannot put them in harm's way. If I was single, because I've done this when I was younger and I had no fear of anything. Now I have fear for my family. I'm not afraid for
Mhm.
myself because I'm not scared. And I do get scared, but I'm not afraid of fighting it. But I can't because my weak spot. What is my weak spot? My husband and my daughter.
Right.
They know
Wow.
that, and I'm not giving that up for anybody.
Well, the defenses around your home must be wild.
Yeah. You know what? We have faith in God. You know what? I used to go in so guarded, like, with my bracelets, I have and everything, crystals, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I have my, my crucifix that my husband made me, with his own hands. He makes crucifix for sick people. But,
Wow,
I was
that's
going into
awesome.
these places and I was too protected that I wasn't picking up at anything. And I'm like, all right, I'm too protected. They're like, nobody, it's like I'm wearing like garlic around a bunch of vampires. So,
Yeah.
so I started going in with nothing, except my cross, because that's my faith. But then I was able to contact. I'm all right. We can have a conversation here. But my faith in, I'm like, I don't need anything. My faith in God, you can't do nothing to me. That I started going with that attitude. Screw you. God's got my back. What do you got? You gonna scare me? Boo. No, I got an army. No.
Yeah, that's you remind talking because he was actually one of my first guests. You're familiar with Ralph Sarchi?
Yes, you would. You know what? You're the one that told me about him.
Yeah, yeah. Really, really
I
nice
was
guy.
actually talking to you because it was fascinating.
Yeah, because he's a retired New York cop, so he's got the he's like if The Exorcist, it's like a mix of
Badass.
wise guys and The Exorcist, and that's
Yeah,
you have Ralph Sarchi, and I read his book, Beware the Night. His book is fascinating.
I know. I
Uh,
want to read that.
it's because in one of early on, he and his partner go to help a family. So his partner's talking to the family, same situation like you mentioned earlier. They're all sleeping in the living room because they're terrified to go upstairs.
Yeah.
So in his book, he's talking about it while his partner talks to the family in the living room. He goes upstairs just to check it out because they just arrived. And he's like, he starts to see the doorknobs rattle by themselves. And he writes, but I've seen this kind of low level BS before. So, I'm like,
Yeah.
so, but his stories, like very, even one of his exorcisms he assisted in, this part blew my mind because when you were saying the guy was cognizant of the
Yeah.
possession and he was okay with it,
Yeah.
it reminded me of one of the stories from Ralph Sarchi's book where they're doing an exorcism. They got the priest there and everything. They actually take a break, because it's so exhausting. And his partner and the possessed person actually go out, have lunch, have a cigarette, and then come back and they go right back to the exorcism.
Yeah.
I'm like, you
Yeah.
can, I've never seen that in
Because
movies.
it's not because you see it in the movies, it's not like that in the movies. Just like people think like I'm like when I'm out walking around, I'm like, oh, I'm zoning into people. No. But if I have to do it intention, I have to set the intention. Like
Wow,
and I always tell a story because my husband will do this to me. My husband's he pushes me to be better. And he's like,
awesome.
you should just start reading people. I'm like, no, because I'm done shopping. I was going to get my hair done. So I thought of it. I'm like, all right, let me go and test this. So I'm like, all right. So I'm going to get my hair done and I'm in the chair and I said, let me just put my feelers out when I'm picking. Oh, somebody just lost their dog, a little brown dog. Oh, I'm like, oh, this is sad. So the girl's washing my hair. So I don't know if it's her. I said, hey, do you have any animals? And she's like, no, I really don't like animals. And I'm like, all right, well, I know somebody lost a dog. I'm like, maybe that this doesn't work for me. And all of a sudden, this man sits down next to me. He's got his hair done. And the lady's like, so how you doing? He goes, oh, I just lost my dog. Shows a picture. It's the little brown dog that I was picking up. I'm like, all right, I'm not saying anything. I want to get out of here.
Um, you know what? I had a question here about that. Yes, it's interesting you bring that up. Um, and I'll explain why I ask this. So, do you think animals experience paranormal differently than humans? I mean, have you noticed pets reacting to spirits? Because I have one time,
Yeah.
and it was
No,
interesting.
yeah, absolutely. Their senses are more heightened than ours in a different way, except for my dog who has an absolute zero psychic ability. My dog will you can walk in my house to rob it and it's just gonna sit there. So but no, absolutely. And they come through. As a matter of fact, I do shows where I do gallery readings for hundreds of people and I just did this show. And it's funny, as I was driving, I was picking up this woman had passed, a mother passed, and so I get to show anyway. So I want to share the story with them. I said, I'm talking to this woman. I said, all right, I have a woman, a mother someone who lost their mother. They went to the hospital for her stomach, but it turned out it was her heart, and she died there. You know, and so she wants you to know. that she has, and this woman showed me the dog named Panda with her. So actually, it was the people in front of the guy goes, wait, my mom. Oh, when I said the name, I forgot when, say Elizabeth. I said the woman's name is, he goes, my mom's name is Elizabeth. And she went to hospital because she was having issues with her stomach, but it was her heart, and she died there, and we just recently lost our dog named Panda.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Last
they
year.
come through. They come through. And I just did another show the other night, which actually made me cry because before driving there, the dad was coming through, for his daughter and telling me he wants to talk to his daughter, let him know that he has the little white dog with her. And it was such a tear fest because this dog, and I met the woman. I said, listen, I said, I have your dad. You lost your dad. And she's like, yeah, he wants you to know he has your little white dog. And she starts crying. I said, now I'm talking to the dog, and the dog's like, the dog is so upset for leaving her. He's so sad he didn't want to leave her that he actually prolonged his life. Just he fought to stay here for her. He did not want to leave her to protect her because this woman's not married, but she needed this dog. This was her child.
Yeah.
It was so sad. I cried. I was crying.
So just a couple more questions, I know, so we can wrap
Yeah,
up.
getting text messages from my daughter now.
Okay. Favorite experience from Holzer Files, and then tell us about Ghosted Magazine.
Oh, okay. So the Holzer Files, I wasn't part of the cast, but I was actually contacted by the Travel Channel. What was this in 2019? What would they call it? The production company contacted me in behalf of the Holzer Files, and because I'm from New Jersey now, my daughter's still small, so I'm not really out and about. And they called me up and they said, "Hey, we're from the Holzer Files." And they said, "Have you ever been to the Oh my God, I'm going blank. The castle here in Patterson." I just totally went blank. So I said, no, I said, but I'll tell you what I'm picking up. And the Lambert Castle. Excuse me, my brain is shot today.
I think I've heard of that.
I've done too many readings. Well, so they called me about the Lambert Castle. Have you ever been there? I said, no, but I'll tell you what I'm picking up. So as a matter of fact, I wrote this in my phone as I'm talking to them, so it's time stamped. And I said, I'm picking up, I said, people are seeing a woman in white. And I see the woman on the property. I see her in grass. She's by a tree and she walks towards this stone wall where there's man standing and he disappears. And I see her looking around. I feel like she's looking for this man and she disappears. I said, listen, let me take a ride over there and see what else I pick up. So now, I pick up my daughter, from school and I drive over there and we're walking around and all of a sudden, I'm outside this one window above me and I could hear this woman crying uncontrollably. And I said, oh my God, this is I know that cry. That's a woman crying over lost child. They lost a child. And all of a sudden, with the remote viewing, all of a sudden, I'm in the room with her. This is all happening in my head, in my mind. I'm in the room with her, and this small woman with her hair back in a bun, black dress with a white collar, is crying uncontrollably with hands, in her hands. And she looks up at me. She goes, I'm not who they think I am. And I said, oh, I got you. I said, you're not the woman in white. They think you're the woman in white. So anyway, so now fast forward, I get the call to go meet the production crew there, and we're filming. And it's funny, when I did go there on my own, I found the spot where I saw the woman. It's funny because I saw the grass, the tree, and this stone wall around the castle. And so I get in there and I walk in and I meet Shane Pittman.
Okay.
First, Shane Pittman was there. We didn't film together. I always credit Shane. I love him because he showed me where the snacks were. So while we're waiting, so anyway,
That's
so now they're
important
bringing.
that's important for a psychic.
Very important. Potato chips, and so they're bringing me upstairs to go meet with Dave Schrader, and we're going up the stairs with the producer, and as we're turning the corner, there's a windowsill with this big window, and there's a picture there of this woman. And I look at it, and I stopped it. I grabbed him. I said, "Hey, this is the woman I saw. It's Isabel, in her wedding dress. The daughter Isabel." I said, "That's who was haunting the place." And I go up to meet Dave Schrader and da da da, and I'm telling him my story about the crying woman. And
He's a funny dude. I've
yeah,
met him
Dave's
briefly.
a great guy.
He's a
But
very funny dude.
I point to the room. I said, "That room, that's where I was in, remotely in that room with the woman that was crying." So we fast forward, da da da. They go to film now. I leave. Dave, Cindy, and Shane go to film there, and they're doing an investigation. And what do you hear? But a woman crying from that bedroom. They caught it on the episode, and it turns out that the mother, that people were seeing the woman in white. But they keep saying it was Mrs. Lambert, and she told me it wasn't her. It was the daughter Isabel.
Oh.
It was
So
the daughter
they thought
Isabel.
it was the mom, but it was actually the daughter.
Yeah. So it turns out Mrs. Lambert, I heard her crying. She was crying as a mother loss of her child. She had lost all five of her children.
Oh my God.
Isabel being one of them. So, yeah, so it was quite an episode. It was great,
That's a
so
lot to experience for like, okay, I'm here for an appearance, and then all
yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was crazy. It was crazy. But that's what I do. I go in and I'll tell you what's going on. I know what's going on. I'm going to tell you the story. So actually, oh, I wanted to, Haunted Hotels is what I filmed with. It was the show with Sam Baltrus, Richard Estep, and Becky and Galentine. We
Okay.
did that a while back, a few years back. It's no longer in production, but I'm now going to start filming another show where which I can't say anything yet, but it's a major network.
Awesome.
I don't know when it's coming. I don't know. This is just the beginning. I will start filming next month, but I will be going into a location and I'm going to tell them the story, what's going on there. So, and then
Well, so you're going back to the Lambert?
not Lambert. I'm going, this is another location. It's a totally
Okay.
different show, a new show. Very interesting. I can't even tell you anything about it yet until
I can't
but
wait.
it's not paranormal. It's not really. It's more of a history. They're
Okay.
bringing me in just to get more information.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Cool.
yeah.
Now, and so tell me about, Ghosted Magazine. Okay,
Oh,
that's been
those.
popping up a lot,
Yeah.
and you had your second issue sell out in 22 hours. Congratulations.
Thank
That's a
you.
great problem to have.
Yeah.
Okay,
It was.
for print media in this day and age, that is an awesome problem to have.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I actually came up with this idea like 3 years ago. I I s- I always, because now I'm in the paranormal. I've met so many the para celebrities. I been on the show. I know everybody. So if I'm like, I would love to do a magazine on this, like bring everyone together because we all can't be in the same place. I'm here on the East Coast where it's
Right.
mostly most haunted locations, and I have the
I've
luck.
actually noticed that. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of
Oh, it's
people I interview,
crazy.
everything
But it's
happens on the East
nice.
Coast.
I get this luxury where people fly me out to haunt the locations. I get paid to do this. This is how I make a living. So it's nice. So I wanted to bring this to the community. So I'm like, I always wanted to do this. I want to write a magazine about all the people, the stars, the powers, but I also want to bring in the little people. These other lesser well known. There's so many paranormal teams. Um, Highlight them. I want to bring the community together where we could all meet in one place and you can read about it. So and along with traveling to the haunted location because we write about the haunted locations, trying to find obscure places and to go to, but we want to highlight them too. So it's been really great, and I brought on. I remember we celebrate our year anniversary in October and
Yeah. So your first issue was in late 2023, wasn't it?
yeah, our first issue was in October. It came out October 1st. I forgot. and that had Jason Hawes on it from Ghost Hunters.
That's right.
Yeah, so I was driving the one day, and I've always had this idea I wanted to do this. I've talked to my agent about it, like saying I always want to do this. So I was driving one day, and I'm like, you know what? I think it's time. So I had become friends with this guy, Michael Castro, aka Danger, and who's a graphic designer. And I really liked him. I just really clicked with him. I have to work with somebody I click with, and we
Right.
worked so well together. So I had called him up, and I said, "Hey, Michael, what do you think? I have this idea for a magazine. I have the name and everything. Do you think we did? Yep." And we had it done in a month. Our first
Wow.
issue in a
Wow.
month. We made a lot of mistakes, but we learned from that first issue. But the second issue, I always like to say the second issue is our first issue. And that's when we had Cindy Kazar, Patty Negri, and Kim Russo on the cover. And
Wow.
I got to interview all these beautiful women. I know them all personally.
So you had
And
all the heavy hitters in
the
the documentary.
heavy hitters,
Wow.
and from there, just Ghosted took off, and we just became widely popular. Like I'm telling you, we Barnes and Noble reached out to us. They want us. They want the magazine. I'm not ready to give up Ghosted, to Barnes and Noble. Not yet. We'll
Well,
see where the TV show goes.
yeah, that's amazing, and it's cool that you want to like also put a spotlight on the ones that you know they're not so famous. They don't have the Discovery Channel shows yet or anything like that. That's
Yeah,
cool, and because there's so many, there's especially, and the biggest problem on YouTube with the paranormal scene on YouTube is that you have the most of the larger channels. They want to like, how do I put this? Every second video says, I ran into a demon. I got scratched by a demon,
yeah.
and
Well,
people
that's the
flock to
thing
those.
now. I see that people don't know how to think outside the box anymore.
Yeah. And
But
that's,
guess what? That will let the special people stand out because they're all doing the same thing. I know the cartoon face with the
mhm. Yeah,
top.
exactly.
Yeah,
You know,
demon.
yeah. And that's, even when I look for guests, because I scour Instagram, all the social
Yeah,
media, YouTube for people to talk to, but I want them to be authentic. If I see, I just want to be authentic, not, oh, I run into a demon every video.
yeah,
Or, and I try to have them, I want people that are positive, I'm going through different channels. I see this one girl's channel. I watch one video. I'm really not sure. I watch her second video. She starts it out, salutations, demon spawn, meaning her
oh,
viewers. So I'm
mother.
like,
Yeah,
no, click, but I don't think
yeah.
so.
But
Fast forward.
I love all these new kids coming out, like the younger generation. It's great, but they're all trying to, get that, what is it, clickbait,
Yep.
to click.
Yep. It's all
And,
about the clicks with them, and it's just, but I mean, I've been so fortunate, even though I've been doing the podcast for only a few months
no,
now.
I love what you're doing. When
Thank
you
you.
reach out to me, of course I was looking at it, and it's so original, and
Oh,
the
thank you.
guests that you have, I just love it. It's, you think outside, well, being a Gemini, you think outside the box.
Thank you.
You are
I've been
going
fortunate.
after stories that we want to know about. I find you absolutely fascinating. Who knows? Do you think Eric will be on in Ghosted? I
um,
would like to interview you.
well,
I had,
um,
we've showcased podcasts in our magazine too.
really, yeah,
Yeah,
I would be honored.
yeah.
Honestly, I'd be honored. And I can call up everybody.
We'll talk.
Listen, that would be
Yeah.
great. Yeah, I would love that. Okay, so yeah, this April, this has been awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Eric. It
I know
was
you.
so great talking to you.
Yeah, I would
And
love to
we
talk
became
again.
family.
Yeah, that would be awesome. As soon as I tell them about you, they're going to be like, oh, she didn't find out too much, did she? I'm like, no, she didn't find out too
No,
much.
no, no, no.
But a couple of things that you just hit on, like I'm probably going to edit out of the final cut of this interview because
Absolutely, I
we talked
totally
about some
get it.
personal
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
But what you did hit on was like, okay,
I tell people, come see me live if you don't want your personal stuff out there.
yeah, yeah. And what blows my mind about this is that we're over video. You're like half a country
Yeah.
away, so that's like what gives. Woo.
Oh my
But
God. My clients, most of my clients are in California, Finland, Sweden,
wow,
um, Arabia, what is it,
Saudi
Emirates,
Arabia,
Arabia. I got
the Arab Emirates, Arab
France.
Emirates.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. Oh my God, Canada. So they're
Wow.
everywhere, all over the world. So that's
Yeah, see, that's I mean, because I totally believe in psychic abilities, but when I see it now and I personally
yeah,
experience it now over video, like, okay,
yeah. This
that's
is all I
wild in a
do
whole other way.
all day long. I like this is Fridays are my day off, so like the only day I have off.
Awesome.
But I usually all
I
day
appreciate
long
it.
doing oh no, Eric. I
Thank you.
loved you. As soon as you reached out to me, I'm like, I like him. There
Thank
was
you. I
something
appreciate
about you
that.
I liked. So I'm like, I'm definitely and then I saw you videos and I said, I love the way you do this. It's very talented.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So, but speaking of talented, you, how
Thank
do our
you.
viewers find you online? Where can we look up your work, all the TV? You have so many shows you were on. It's like,
Yeah.
and you're like I don't know where you find the time of day to eat.
Yeah.
Actually, you're so busy.
I just
So,
want I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning too. Like
wow.
it's funny, people see when I'm online and people are like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh man, this is my alone time. Leave me alone." I am having
Awesome.
cappuccino at 3 o'clock in the morning is my favorite time in the morning, and I just get some work done. I do. I'll go back to
You're in
sleep as well.
you're in the zone.
Yeah, I'm in my zone.
I
But
like it. Well,
so anyway,
where can we
you
find you online?
so my I guess so all social media, TikTok and Instagram. I'm the Psychic Housewife in New Jersey. Um, April, the Psychic Housewife in New Jersey. My website is intuitiveapril.com, which Ghosted Magazine is connected to that, and also have ghostedmagazine.com to check it out. We have subscription. We are print digital and we're getting huge and I we are taking submissions like stories from people even like their own experiences or evidence and we actually showcase it on our website and we do um take some of the stories out and put it in the magazine.
Wow, that is awesome. And for those of you watching on YouTube, I will have links to her website, all her social
Thank you.
media in the video description below, so you can start following her adventures and reach out to her. Maybe get a reading. If you get a reading, let me know how it happened. I would love to know because I just technically had one, and it was like, yeah, you're good.
Thank you. We'll
You
have more. We'll do more. I
you're
have
very
a
good.
feel we're going to be friends for a long time, Eric.
Oh, new besties. I like
Yeah,
it.
new besties.
Well, thank you again. This has been awesome. I appreciate it so much. And for those of you watching, thank you for joining us today. This has been Beyond the Compass, where travelers and the paranormal meet at the crossroads. Have an amazing day.